Coming up today on That LTD Life, we're checking out Whirr, a no-code, no-design skills necessary form builder. Is it going to be a drop-in replacement for something like Typeform? Will it replace your WordPress form builder? Well, we'll see, but probably not. It's actually quite a bit different, and I like it. I've been playing around with it. I think you're going to like it too. So here is the deal over on AppSumo. By the way, I've got a link for this down in the description. That's how you can support this channel. Click those links before making a purchase. Let's check out the plans and pricing here. So with Whirr, we get a tier 1 license for $49. That comes with kind of a suboptimal, only 10 forms here. But if you upgrade to tier 2, now it's a lot more generous in my opinion, 100 forms. However, the sweet spot for most people is going to be tier 3, which gives you unlimited forms. If this is not enough for you because maybe you want more users, now that's not how many people can fill out your form. You're not limited there. It's how many people can actually be building the form. The other consideration is how much file upload storage you get. So think about the types of files you're going to request people to send. If they're video testimonials, which you could do with this, I'll show you how you might want to do that. Well, then you're probably going to want to have a lot of storage space and get used to kind of clearing them out as you get submissions. If it's just going to be simple like text submissions, you probably don't need to worry about the file upload storage at all. However, if you want more, there's 2 more tiers available. Tier 4 gives you 50 gigs and tier 5 gives you 100 gigs for $549. So quite an investment there on forms. But hey, if this works for you, that could save you a lot over something like a Jotform or Typeform type of subscription, which is usually in the $50 to $100 per month type of price range anyway. Yeah, so here, just real quick to check it out, this is Typeform's pricing page. So 3 users is $60 a month and 5 users is $100 a month. And here they're limiting you on how many responses you can get to your forms. So the more people who will fill out your forms, the more you're going to need to pay, essentially 10,000 responses in the $100 a month plan. That's a little ridiculous in my opinion. However, Typeform has a lot of other things going for it, like conversion tracking. And there's a reason that people like Typeform. It is a very reliable service, been around a long time, has a certain look to it, but I think you're going to find that Whirr has a certain look to it as well. So let's get into it. So I just grabbed tier 1 from AppSumo and redeemed it a few moments ago. I've looked around the app and I've already got some pretty strong opinions about it. I'm quite familiar with the tech behind it and we'll get into that in a moment. So here is my AppSumo tier 1 plan. It drops you right into the settings page under plan. So while we're here, I'll just show you everything I've done so far. If we go under general, I can set up my workspace name. So I've called it Client Amp and then I decided to drop in the That LTD Life logo. Those 2 things both worked flawlessly. Then we have our members here. We can invite other members, and there is also a section for viewing your usage. You can see I've already published 1 form here, and I only have 1 user on this particular plan. I have not utilized any of my file upload submission storage yet. So we'll backtrack out of settings. We're kind of done with that now. There's not a whole lot to the user interface here. I can see my forms over here. I've created one and not named it. And then there's a template section. Beyond that, it's a very clean, minimalistic user interface. I can see my recently edited forms down below. There is a update section over here. We can submit a feature or check out their help docs, but I think by the end of this video, you're not really going to need too much assistance. So let's get right into it. I'm going to check out the templates first and just kind of show you what you have to work with without doing much effort at all. So these are all pre-designed. You can easily update them to work with your branding, your colors, so on and so forth. So there is not a ton of templates. I think there's 15 here in front of us. Let's go through them all pretty quickly. We've got the customer feedback form, pretty nice here, kind of just standard stuff. We can see the personal information section with some single lines of form entry. So we've got email address, phone numbers, date picker. And then next up, we've got this employee interaction section, which has this star system. So I can rate employees based on stars. And then we can see what a dropdown looks like inside of this form builder. Some longer form text entry down below, and some checkboxes. So these are multi-select checkboxes and a submit button right here. Here is a job application form where people can upload their resume or cover letter, and then pretty much all of the other standard forms that we saw. You can see that this still very much looks like the last form, but it has a different color palette, and you could easily rebrand this to fit with your company. Now they've got their support bubble over here, but you can see there is some branding. With the AppSumo pay plan, we are going to be able to remove that. I'll show you how to do it once we get into the form builder. I'm going to quickly run through the rest of these templates. If this part is boring you, just skip ahead to the next section. I've got chapter markers so that you can go ahead and jump to whatever's most interesting to you. We're going to look at this uninstall survey, which is quite nice here. I like this, very clean and simple. The same kind of checkboxes we saw before. We've got some plain text with a link. Here's a little bit of a different look. This is a side-by-side view where we have an image on the right and then a form registration on the left. Here is a multi-select option, excuse me, not a multi-select, a drop-down option where people can choose the size t-shirt that they're going to get when they register. Next up is a waitlist template. So if you are running something that requires a waitlist, you can easily start up your own waitlist using this tool. All right, here is another example, very similar to what we just saw for the registration form, but this is an RSVP form for a party at my house. I don't know how they got this picture of my house here, but this is what it looks like. We can check a box yes or no. Now, interesting that this is not, they're letting me check both. You'd think this would be kind of a single select, but that's not how the template was built. But you can fill it out and then respond right here. And here is another example. So we've seen 3 using this same type of layout. They all have a similar look, but are very clearly branded differently, and they feel different. So unlike Typeform, which in my opinion always feels like Typeform, these Whirr forms feel a little bit more unique, a little bit more distinct to your brand, and we'll see how to do that in the builder. All right, then we've got a project inquiry, again with the date picker here, another dropdown. Here's a nice restock template. This time the layout has been swapped, so the image is on the left. By the way, these are all mobile responsive. So as I resize the window here, notice that it still looks good, even though I'll reload the page here and see if it does anything different. We have the image up at the top. So if I were on a phone, I might have to scroll a little bit, I'm guessing, in order to actually see the form. But otherwise, it resizes perfectly with no intervention needed on your end as you're actually creating the form. Here's another restock form, same layout, just a darker UI look here. Here is a template to submit a template to the Whirr library. All right, a little bit meta, no Zuckerberg. All right, let's check out the next one. Get in the books. This is for booking a hair appointment. So we can choose a stylist here, choose our preferred date, and then receive a callback. There's no booking system built in, but you'd be able to at least gauge interest for a particular thing. Here's a SaaS support form. This is an interesting one. I really like this. It's a photography agreement. So this is basically a full-on contract. And as you scroll down, you can see that I can actually sign my name right here, my name. Obviously you probably want to do that on your phone where you can use your finger and write a little bit nicer. But if you want to enter it in via text, you can do that as well. By the way, there are thank you pages for all of these. This is what the agreement signed page looks like. And we'll round out this look at the templates by going into the contact form, where you can see just kind of a basic bare bones contact form. All right, so those are all the templates. Now let's transition to building our own form from scratch. So I'm gonna go up to forms here, and you can see I kind of started messing around with one. I'm gonna create a new one, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. I know a lot of people are not using the Safari browser, but I was the first time I used this, and it didn't perform well at all. So if you are a Safari user and you need to interact with Whirr, make sure you switch over to a Chrome-based browser. That's the one I've tested, and it seems to be working much, much more reliably. So here we are. We're going to build out a form from scratch. Now, I want to say right out of the gates, I feel very much at home here because this is using the exact same editor that the Ghost CMS uses. If you've heard of Ghost CMS before, you know that it's really well regarded because of the usability of the editor. It's just very comfortable and non-distracting to work in. So you're going to notice that right away here in Whirr. I'm somewhat of a self-proclaimed expert on Ghost. I have published 3 courses about Ghost, and one of them is dedicated just to the editor. So like I mentioned, I'm very much at home inside of this editor. Let me break it down for you exactly how to build out a form pretty quickly. First thing we can do is add in a logo up here. I've dropped in my That LTD Life logo again. Then I can give my form a title. And if I want to write some plain text, I can just press return, go to the next line, and start typing. So I've just entered a few lines of text in here. I say, I want to hear what you think about my YouTube videos, answer a few questions, and let me know how I can improve. Now I'm going to build out this form, but I just noticed one thing. This is not named my form. One thing that Ghost does that I really like using the exact same editing software, at least so it seems, is it automatically fills in the title of the post on Ghost, or in this case, the form, based on whatever you've entered in on basically the heading section, the H1. Doesn't seem to do that here, so I'm going to go ahead and just enter it in manually. I'm going to call it the video feedback form. And now let's actually build out our form. So I'll press return to go to the next line, and you see it says press slash for commands. So I'm going to press slash, and I'm going to ask for someone's name. So I'll type in name, and I'll press return, and I'll ask for their email. And then I'll press return again, and I'll say text area. And I'm going to choose long input. And I've asked a question here. Now let's go ahead and maybe enter in an upload area where I can have people send in files. So I'll do slash upload. And sure enough, there it is. I'll ask people to send in a screenshot. I don't know what of, but you get the point. We're just trying out some fields here. By the way, we can browse through these cards as well. So we've got 3 different types of headings, which Markdown does work here as well. So if I wanted to do an H2, I could do 2 pound signs and then press space, and I've got an H2. I can change this to an H3 by entering 3. In fact, you can even do H4. They all work. But other than headings, we can enter in buttons, a submit button, which just says submit by default. Kind of the difference between these two, if I click on these little handlebars, I get the action that it's going to take. So on click, it can submit the form, go to a link, or set an active view. Notice over to the side here, we have views, so I can add in additional views. This is essentially how you can build in multiple page forms. So maybe I add in a second page over here. Then on my button, I can click over here and say, go to view 2. The submit button is essentially the exact same element, but it already has submit form as the preset action. I could actually just change it to be identical to the other one, but that's how this works. Now, if I want to get rid of any of these fields, I can simply press delete on my keyboard, and then eventually they will go away. So I'll just call this next page. We'll go over to field 2 here, or view 2, and I can add in some more questions. We were looking at the submit buttons. I can also add in the media player here to embed audio or video. And to do this, you just click on the field, and then you can paste in any URL here you'd like, and you can also hide the controls. So for example, here is one of my YouTube videos. I just entered that in, and it shows up a little bit malformatted, but chances are it'll look good on the back end. This is kind of often what you'll see on Ghost as well. Not often, but occasionally some things don't embed. I think YouTube videos look pretty good in the editor. Let's check this out quick. I'm going to click publish. It's going to give me a URL to view this page. I can open it up in a new tab. Let's go to the next page. Oop, these are required. Yeah, it is a little bit malformed. It's not quite the right aspect ratio for a YouTube video. It's a little bit wide. That's all it is. The video is going to play just fine. It's just got these black bars on the side. All right, let's continue going through the cards, and then I'll dig into some more of the details that you may have seen there with like required fields and all of that goodness. So I'm gonna get rid of that embed, and let's just look at what else we have here. There's also an embed option where we can embed another app or website. There is an image option to add our own images. And then we just get a lot of the standard form fields like a bulleted list, a numbered list, a checkbox field, a date field, the time field. Now let's get past this one you may have noticed, custom HTML. We can just add our own HTML in here if you like. This works exactly like the media embed. So I just click on the 6 dots, and then I can paste in my HTML code, and it renders somewhat. I entered a whole page, and it's kind of off to the side here. So I think I broke this. Yeah, I definitely broke this page by entering in the HTML for a full website, but it doesn't look like there's any way for me to get back to it. So I can just delete this view and add in another one. All right, so this is how you're actually supposed to use the custom HTML section. I can just, actually write in HTML if you prefer to do that. All right, so here is my custom HTML, and then I've added a link to Google. I'm just going to delete this. All right, so let's continue examining which fields are available to us. If I scroll down here, I think this is about where we left off. I've got a time field here. I can ask someone to submit a specific time, and here's what that would look like. There we go. Once again, if I want to delete this, I would just click up and actually remove the title and then press delete, and it's going to remove that. I think that's probably the trickiest thing about getting used to this builder is that you probably want to just like select things and delete them, and there's no way to do that. I would like if they added in maybe a right click type of function to delete the cards. That's something the Ghost editor has, and this one does not have that. All right, then we've got a social handle field to ask someone for their social media handle. A signature field, we saw that in one of the templates. So if you skip those, go back and check out the template for, I believe it was the photography agreement near the end. That was a really cool look. We've got the ratings field to rate someone based on stars. File upload, so you can get those documents and other type of items uploaded to you. An address field, we saw that already. A link field to ask someone maybe their URL, their personal business website, things like that. Name field, phone field, company field, address field, kind of all standard form stuff here. Number field, short input, so single line text, long input, multi-line text. A drop-down field, vehicle make drop-down. That's a little bit interesting. Let's see what that looks like. So here we go. We've got all of these different vehicles pre-populated. So I'm going to choose, how about Honda? And I guess that's all. All right, that's a really odd thing to add in. So basically, they've just built out a drop-down form with all of these options. You could customize this further if you like. Just click on those 6 dots. Those 6 dots will also let you rearrange things, by the way, if I haven't made that clear. So if I had a name field in here and I wanted to put my vehicle make below the name, just drag and drop it. Well, that didn't work too well. Let's try that again. Oh, there we go. It did eventually click over. So let me just show you how this is really just a drop-down field that they've pre-populated with some info for us. Kind of an odd selection. I'm not sure how many people are going to be using the vehicle make option, but I suppose they just want to give you examples. So I'm on the line with the title of the field. I'm going to press return to get a new line here. I'll press slash and then type drop down, or DRO, it basically would be enough. And then I can give this, I don't know, how about fuel options? And then I will click on the 6 options over here, and I could say gas, EV, or hybrid. And obviously I can easily remove any of these options or add more if I like. If I want to make this field required, this applies to all of the fields we've been looking at, by the way. I just toggle this over, and now it's a required field. There's a few more options for these pre-filled drop-down selectors. We've got time zone, country, and state/territory drop-downs for US territories. All right, but I'm ready to close out this form. So let me go ahead and add in a button here. I'll just add the submit button, and we should be good to go. Now let's look at how to actually style this thing once we've built out the form of our dreams. The first thing I want to point out is that each page actually has its own cover photo. So I'll click up here and I can either upload a cover photo or choose from Pexels or Giphy. So I'm just going to go over to Pexels. I'll type in YouTube, choose this camera, and there we go. This is very much like a cover photo on Ghost. Now, how this is displayed on the front end is usually based on how the theme is styling things. And I'm going to assume that we've got some options here to style this layout a little bit as well. So I'll click here on the gear icon, and sure enough, we've got the general options, the style options. We can also add in some custom CSS and even enter in some metadata so that we look good on search engines and when we're shared on social media. So let's go through these one by one. Under general, I've got response notifications and turning off the branding. So I'm going to do that, and I'll turn on response notifications, and it can notify me, so that's good. It would be nice if I could add in someone else here, like maybe I've got a client and I want to notify them, and I could do that on a form by form basis. But using this setup, it's going to require that you add all of your clients as users if you want to build out forms for them. Next, under the style settings, we've got a few different layouts to choose from. So let's go ahead and just toggle through these. This is the left-hand side as the image. Here we've got the default top image, and then we've got right-hand side as the image. We can also choose the alignment. So by default, it's top aligned. We can center align or bottom align. We've got options to change all of our colors here. So let's choose a different background color, a different primary color, which is going to be like our buttons, and our text color, which maybe I'll just lighten up a smidge here. I think dark looks best with that background. And here are our font options. We've got quite a few here. This might be just about all of the Google fonts available to us. I'll go ahead and choose Railway. Notice that I've got a body font as well as a heading font. So let's choose, how about Epilogue for our heading font here. All right, so those are our style options. If you want to style things further, we do have custom CSS so that you could very easily target, say, an object on the page and then just style that one particular spot. Of course, you need to know custom CSS or at least be able to interact with the code enough on your page to get something like ChatGPT or Claude to write the CSS for you. Here is our metadata options. We've got a title, a description, and a social card image. It would also be nice if this were to be filled out based on what I've already created, like at least the title could go into the title field here and then I can override it. And then maybe the social card image could come from my hero image that I've added in. All right, so I just added this random house photo and I'm gonna say, fill out my form and save changes. I'm clicking save changes, nothing is happening, but I'm not too concerned. If I go in and out of this, yeah, it doesn't save my changes. It's not saving my title at all. So definitely a big fail here on the metadata. I don't seem to be able to update that. Now, I've already published this form as we saw, but I kind of scurried through the different publication options. So let's check that out. I'm going to close out my settings. If I click on this disclosure triangle, I can see that I can either just copy and paste this link anywhere I want. I've got a link here, or I've got a QR code, but there's no embed options, which is a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. There's also no way to white label this or give it a custom CNAME, which I know a lot of people in the AppSumo land are definitely going to want. So the founders of this app can be prepared for that question to come up in the AppSumo comment section. Now, what about a thank you page? That's essentially just going to be an additional view. So after someone goes ahead and submits the form, we can take them to another view here. So I'll make this one the thank you page. And then back here on this submit button, I can click the 6 dots. I can choose submit form. And then the success screen, I will choose view number 3. So that'll be our thank you. Now, why would we want to use submit form versus go to active view or set active view? The answer should be obvious, but in case it's not, let me spell it out to you. The data will not be saved unless you choose submit form. If you just have them go to the thank you page, you won't be getting any submissions. The submissions, by the way, end up over here inside of this data view where you can see how many responses, how many sessions you've had, what the conversion rate is, how long they were taking to complete the form, and then you'll actually be able to see the individual responses down here. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill out the form here in a second, but there's one more thing I wanted to discuss inside of the editor, and that's the fact that the style, the layout is universal. So perhaps you're thinking, well, I'd like to have this page be, full screen with the hero image on the top, and then I'd like to have this one, maybe have a different image over here. Well, if I trash this image and go over to this page, it's trashed over there. And if I go over to the gear icon and change the layout on this page to be that top look, well, guess what? It's changed on all of the pages. That, in my opinion, is a bit of a bummer because it severely limits the look of our forms, especially for longer multi-page forms. For quick one-page contact forms, great. But for those longer forms where you want to keep things maybe a little bit more interesting, I'm going to have a hard time with that over here. Okay, so let me go ahead and open this up and we will actually just complete the form. All right, I've filled this out. I've even uploaded a text file. I'm going to go to the next page. Oh, and now my second page has decided to show up. This was that custom HTML that I added in before. All right, I'm confused because I deleted that view for sure. I wonder if something was cached. Let's hit publish here just to make sure everything is updated. We'll go to this page. There's definitely no HTML on here any longer. All right, trying again, visiting page 2. It still shows up. That's too bad. We were close with this one, folks. So I'm gonna just delete this, build it out again. Now we just have a one-page form, and I'm gonna change this over here to go right to the submit button and take me to view 2. All right, saving those changes, publishing them. You can see it refreshing right here. We'll open this in a new tab, filling this form up for the 3rd time, hitting submit, and hopefully, yes, this time it took me to the thank you page. You can see the confirmation message down below. Let's go to the back end and see what my results look like. So here is the back end. Again, I'll go into data. And you can see I've got 1 response on 2 sessions, 50% conversion rate. Here is my time to complete. I can export my data as a CSV or just view it right here in this chart. Table. So no API connections here, no integrations with other apps. These are things that are a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. In terms of getting the data out of the form builder, you'd have to do this manually via CSVs. There's not even any sort of like webhook connector where you could maybe, add in your own automation platform, Make, Zapier, N8N, whatever you like to use. There's no way to do that yet. Checking out their feature request board, I just typed in integration here, and I can see there are requests for Pabbly, Make, Stripe, as well as Zapier. Those have a couple of votes each, or one vote probably from the submitter. So a little bit of bummer. It doesn't look like there's a lot of activity going on there. The Stripe integration was actually something I was going to bring up, especially with that example in the template library of the photography agreement form. I thought that was really cool. You could have someone sign it and then take them right over to Stripe to complete the submission. That'd be a really great idea. However, right now that's just not possible. You could do something like after they submit the form over on this page, you could, drop in another button to proceed with payments and then link them over to your Stripe checkout or whatever system you're using for checkouts. But it's a little bit different than actually just having it be part of the form system itself. All right, so that is Whirr. It's promising, but needs quite a bit of improvement to be something I'd recommend as a daily driver. With things like the actual form not representing what I had on the back end, that is a major concern. Because of that, it's going to be deducted pretty severely. This one's going to be in the 5s for sure, the high 5s, but yeah, I'm thinking probably 5.8 for Whirr. There's a lot of competition in the form category. I mentioned recently in another video, I think my favorite form builder on AppSumo recently was OpenForm. I stand by that one. It is probably the best LTD that I've seen in the forum space in quite some time, unless you're willing to use WordPress, in which case I'd check out something like Fluent Forms, which after all these years is still available for a lifetime deal, and it's a bargain even though the price keeps going up. It's one of my most used forms on all of my websites. So that's going to do it today. Thank you for watching. My name is Dave Swift, by the way. If you don't know who I am, I'm from clientamp.com. Check out our website, get signed up for our free email newsletter, check out our premium courses, and even work with me directly. If you have any questions about this video or anything in the LTD space, hit me up in the comments down below. Don't forget to support the channel by clicking that like button, hitting subscribe, and using our links before making a purchase. Thank you to everyone watching. I will be back shortly with another lifetime deal review. Until then, I'll see you soon.